Hey there, today we're going to take a look at Looker Studio, formerly Data Studio. Google rebranded it in the last few months and it is now Looker. And so let's take a look at why you would want to build a dashboard in Looker and not just use the regular interface. And we're going to specifically look at GA4 since Google Universal Analytics, GA3, is going away in July. And so the default going forward is GA4. There are some quirks to using GA4, and so it's important to know why you should build a dashboard that is usable for users. So let's take a look real quick. So as you can see here, we're in a GA4 report for a retail website. And you can see that on the homepage, there are some cards, there's a dashboard, there's some limited amount of data here that you can get. The problem is that this is selected by Google. You don't have really any control about the reporting dashboard or what you're seeing here. So for instance, if you go into the reports area, there is some useful information here. There's revenue, users, that type of thing. But again, you don't have a lot of control over this, and then Google will change it depending on your data, how much data you're generating, how many visitors you have. They will add insights. Now these insights can be useful, but as you know, for our dashboarding purposes, if this changes and you don't have control over it, it might not be the best idea to use for your clients or for your executives. The other issue is that, as you can see, there's not a lot of data visualization. And it's kind of, you have to click on these cards to get the full report. And then when you do click on them, as you can see, it's a limited amount of information there. Users have to be able to sort through it, that kind of thing. So not necessarily ideal, particularly if people are used to the old Google Analytics version. They're not necessarily going to know where or how to find the information that they need in this, which is why you might want to look at Looker Studio. So let's take a look at that. As I said, Looker Studio has been rebranded. It used to be called Data Studio. So the URL is still the same. It's still datastudio.google. However, they've just added the logo and whatnot. Within this, you can see that once you've set up your Data Studio area, you can look at templates. So you can actually use a variety of different templates here if that makes your life easier. So they have e-commerce templates, they have paid search templates, merchandising, that type of thing. And so that can be helpful if you don't want to build this from scratch. But today we're going to take a look at how to build it from scratch so you know how. So let's start out with a blank report. And it's going to ask you where your data is coming from. And you do have a lot of options for your data sources. If there's data sources that you use all the time, you can look at that under your My Data Sources. Today we're going to be looking at Google Analytics, but you can create a dashboard just using Google Ads, Google Sheets, BigQuery, which is their data warehouse, or you can upload a CSV. And so if you have an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheet or anything like that, this is very convenient for building a more interactive charts and data presentation than you would do in those files, which, as you know, if you've used Excel, it's not necessarily designed for building dashboards, particularly if you want that data to be live. So we're going to take a look at Google Analytics here. We're going to choose our account. Let's go with this one. And we're going to do GA4. And we're going to add it. All right, and this creates our initial dashboard. Now, I will caution you that there may be a chance that you'll get an error if you are using a data source that has a lot of other dashboards built into it. So one of the problems right now is that GA4 is throttling the amount of data that is being pulled into things like Looker Studio. And we have a video about that, which I will link in the description. But essentially, if you have too many widgets on here, there's too many people accessing the reports, it will give you a connection error and it will break your dashboard. It is essentially their way to force you to start using the BigQuery data warehouse. But again, we talk about that in a little bit more detail in another video. So by default, it starts out with this dashboard here, this table, and we're going to delete that because we don't necessarily want that. So as you can see, when I deleted that, all of the formatting here went away. Over here, you have all of the data sets being pulled in from that GA4 account that are available. And so you can see exactly what you can put in there. Up here, you have the ability to add pages. So you can have multiple pages on this. You can actually format the size and relationship of this page. And more importantly, you can add charts. And so up here you have the typical charts and stuff that you would be, that you would assume would be available in this. You have tables, you have scorecards, line charts, bar charts. You get the idea. But you can go down through here and explore all of the different types of data sets and visualization that you have available. We're going to start out using scorecards, and I like to use the scorecards that have compact numbers rather than the totals for our larger clients that get a lot of traffic. If you have a smaller client or a smaller website, you can go ahead and use this one, obviously. And so we're going to go in and place this data. Now you can see what's happened is it's pulling in the data right here, and you can actually change this if you wanted to. On a given dashboard page, you can actually have multiple sources of data. So if you wanted to have GA4 data here, and then the next card be something from Google paid search or a chart from Google search, you could do that. So this defaults to views. We're going to change this instead because this is a retail website. We're going to change this to revenue and look for, it's actually purchase revenue. You can see how GA4 talks about the data. If you go into GA4 and actually start plugging around, one of the things that you're going to see is that if you've ever set up dashboards before in Looker, formerly Data Studio, you're going to see that some of the names and stuff are different. So GA4 is essentially a new analytics tool. So how they talk about the data, how they label them are distinctly different than was the case in Universal Analytics. So this is purchase revenue. This automatically defaults to a 28-day backward-looking period. I like to put in comparison data, and so we can just put in the previous period. You can change this at any point if you want. That will show the comparison data. So now that we have purchase revenue, comparison data, we can go in and format this. So let's change the style a little bit. One of the things that you can do is you can actually change pretty significantly the size of these and how they look. So you can actually change, for instance, if you hadn't used the compact number card, you can do that now. That number is obviously not big enough to matter. You can change the color of the comparison data. There are absolutely cases where going down is a good thing. So you may want to change that to green. You may want to also change it to a number that contrasts better with the background color, which we're going to show you in a minute. You can have this different sizes. So we're going to change this to 36. And we're going to keep Roboto. And you can add background and border colors. So if this was something that, for instance, that you really wanted to pop, you can do that here. You can change this to, say, a red. I can then change the font color. If you go down here, you can also change the border color and how rounded it is. So if you want it to look like more of a button, you can do that. And I'm going to go up here and change these to white. And the comparison data, I'm going to change to a lighter shade that will show in there. And so now if I click off that, you can see that this looks more like a button. It kind of stands out. We may want to actually change that. Change the style to this to a lighter color so it shows a little bit better. There we go. So that kind of pops. And if that's what you're going for, you can do that. You can brand this obviously with colors that you would want to use. I wouldn't necessarily use red here, but there are different themes that you can use out of the gate. So if you wanted, for instance, a dark theme, You could do that as well. That makes it all black. We do like the look of that. It's easy to read if it's digital. The one thing that I'll tell you is that some clients will want to print these out. So if you make it black, that's problematic with printing because obviously it uses up a lot of ink and doesn't necessarily look that great. You then also have to make sure all your text is reversed out and that kind of stuff. So just for this, we're going to do this just to show you. So we've got purchase data here now. The easiest way to do this is to copy this and paste it. And you can do that either with your keyboard shortcuts or just go up to edit and copy and paste. You can see here, you can line these up. It'll help guide you into lining them, and we can reposition those as needed in a minute. So we looked at purchase revenue. Let's look at orders. And in this, it's not just called orders, it's actually called e-commerce purchases. And you can see those numbers there. Now, one of the things that's nice about this is you can see, so we have this arranged nicely. But that word is overhanging the box. And so we can change the name of this and we can just change it to orders. And all I did was click on that pencil right there. It doesn't change the name of the data. It just changes this field. So we did change that to orders. Now let's look at average order value. And we know that that's called average purchase revenue. And same thing here. We're going to change the name to something people recognize. So one of the nice things is that you can take these and select all of them. If you want to adjust the size on all of them, you can do that. Like for instance, if I wanted to bring that up. So once you have those in there, you can adjust all of them to fit how you want them to fit. And that makes things pretty easy. So let's call this something. Let's use a text box, and we're going to draw this text box above these, and we're going to call this revenue and conversion. Let's call it revenue and purchases. Now you can put, for instance, conversion rates in here. There is not a pre-formatted conversion rate. Why, I have no idea. In GA4 right now, or in the in Data Studio or Looker Studio. Why that is, I don't know, but it is a calculated metric that you can put in here. We're not going to cover that right now. We'll cover that in the future, but you can do calculated metrics and actually put that in that field. So we have the purchases and revenue, and let's just move that over. I'm going to make these a little smaller. Okay. Now I'm going to copy this again. And this might be where your color coding comes in. So maybe you want to change the colors of these. Since we're going to do something a little different, we're going to look at traffic. And so instead of this one, AOV, let's put in sessions. We don't want engaged sessions. We just want sessions. Okay, we have that. Let's copy, paste. And let's do here, we'll do users. Let's do total users. So as you know, sessions and users are slightly different. Users are unique users during a given period of time. Sessions doesn't count the unique users. It counts just the number of times people have come back to the website. All right, so this is going to get squeezed. So we'll make this a little bit smaller. And we're going to copy this and put this over here. And let's make this new users. I'm going to copy this. And we'll call this traffic. All right, so now we have some of the basics for traffic and purchases on the site for the given period of time, which is by default, like I said, 28 days. Like, you know, in your dashboard, like I said, you could choose to change this color based on the data that's showing. That might make things a little bit easier to read. So let's take a look at another kind of chart here. Let's pull in a table. I'm going to give this a little room because we're probably going to do a spark line here too for the revenue, just to make it easier for people to get a sense of that. So we'll leave a little bit of room for that. But in here, we're going to look at not event name. We're going to take a look at user sources. And here you can see the typical campaign type sources that you would be thinking that would be there. And it defaults to revenue, which is good. So again, we may want to change that. So let's add sessions. So we can see the traffic from those programs. Let's change this instead of purchase revenue just to revenue. Give us a little more room. And you can adjust these lines. So you can see we have room here. So we may want to move those over. And then let's look at users. And what that's going to do is tell us where all of those people come from. So now we can style it. We can get rid of those numbers. So we can get rid of the row numbers. We can get rid of the pagination. The pagination does come in handy if you have multiple campaigns and you want someone to be able to interact with it. You can see this one stops about there. So we're not going to do anything with that. We can also change the font size, make it a little bit more readable. And you can do things like alternate row colors. We can do like a light gray to make it a little bit easier to read. And then obviously we can copy this and add a title to it. And we'll call that traffic sources. Now you can add shading and a background to this as well. So you can format this to your heart's desire. We're going to move this down a little bit. And let's do that spark line that I was talking about. So we'll go up here to the chart data. We'll add this. We'll make it a little smaller. And what we're going to do is stylize it so it gets rid of some of the information here. So we're going to not show the axes. We're going to get rid of the grids. There we go. So we can make that as a bit of a spark line. For revenue. And there are different ways to do that where you can actually include it like right under here. So you could literally make this small enough that if you wanted to, you could just put it under revenue. And you could do one of these for each of those metrics to show, to associate it with each one of those. So for instance, if you just wanted to make that compact, you could literally do this very easily. Just again, copy, paste, drag this over, and then just change this again from purchase revenue to e-commerce purchases, which we remember as orders. And then do the same over here. And if you can hear my cat, that is my annoying cat who decides that when she's hunting, she needs to announce it. And she's hunting wonderful things like stuffed toys with catnip in it. So So that is that meowing that you're hearing is our cat Annie. All right, so we have basic data here for these. Okay, and then another area that we might want to add is campaigns. So these are the traffic sources specifically to the site that may or may not be campaigns. But let's take a look at, if we just wanted to look at, didn't want to do that. If we wanted to look at campaigns, I'm going to copy this. Now I could build in, for instance, a filter into that table to only look at non-campaign traffic sources. So things that are not coming from our various campaigns, but just to show you the basics here, we're going to look at campaigns. I'm going to change this in the setup to, instead of user source, let's look at campaigns specifically. If I could type, there we go. And so you can see this website doesn't have a lot of any real campaigns running, but if it did, we would be able to show those here. You could specifically pull in paid search, for instance, and just get the cost and all of that type of information here as well. So just like the other table, we could format that. All right, because that didn't have a lot of campaign traffic, but you can kind of see how that was done. Let's pull in another metric that might be useful for you. These are a little touchy, as you can see. Let's pull that over. Let's look at pages, what pages people are going to. And we will go to setup. We don't necessarily want those metrics, but let's look at page title. And so these are your top pages with users. I don't believe views is available in this. It might be. Oh, it's proven wrong. This changes all the time, so you never know what is and isn't available. So there you go. So now we have the top page views. We can, obviously, you could create a report for this that was its own report that showed that in more detail. But that's going to give you an idea of the number of page views that are available, or the number of page views that people are using. Which are the most common, and you can sort this as well. So this is a sortable area, so you can tell it how you want it to either be descending or whatever. Now, much like in the marketing campaigns, you can also create filters for this as well. So if you only wanted to look at, for instance, certain types of pages, like checkout pages, or if it had blog in the title or in the URL, you could do that. So instead, for instance, if we wanted to look at something like that, instead of page title, we could look at page URL. All right, and so you can see there that we have page-related information. As I mentioned before, you could actually build a filter for this too and only look for certain types of page titles if you wanted to do that. Let's say that you want to format this a little bit more though. So we have room here, and what we can do is move these down a bit. So let's move those down where we have a little bit of room. And you're going to be wanting to probably take a different look at this than your standard last 28 days. And so what you would need to do that is add a control. And there's different types of controls here. So you can see there's a drop-down list that you can add, fixed list size, input box, advanced filters, sliders, checkbox. The most common one you're going to want to use, however, is date range. And so we're going to put that up here. And then we're going to click on that. And you can set a default date range. So usually what we do is look at either the last period or the last month. Or the last week. It depends on how often your team is going to be looking at this. So by default, when they come here, it will be last month. And you can then style this. So we can make that a little bit bigger. And we can stretch this over so it's readable. Okay. So that is the date control box, and your users can change that. Actually, let's bring that font down a little bit so there's more room. We're going to change that to 24. All right, so if you want to brand this a little bit more, you can do that. So let's give it a header up here. And we'll make that the red that we were using in the other report. And I can resize that a little bit more exactly. Not that it needs it, but you get the idea. Now we can also send this to the back. Send it backward. And then we can make this a little bit different color, so it pops out a little bit more. Okay. Oh, here we go. That's what we want. That's probably too light. Let's we'll keep that low. Now, obviously, you can change that color. It's not a particularly attractive one. And you can put in a logo up here. So you can either just write a name or add it. We're just going to write this and name the dashboard. You can put a logo or name here. We're just going to call this e-commerce data. And make it white. And bump up the size. There you go. And obviously, like I said, you can brand this if you so choose. If you don't have to. And then now you have a little bit more succinct dashboard that has the metrics that you want on it rather than what Google wants. And like I said, you can add pages to this. So you can add a page. You can name this first page. So we can go in and call this e-commerce data. And then that second page, one of the things you can do is you can actually copy all of this and paste it into that second page so that you have a similar look and feel without having to go through and recreate it all. That's also something you can do at the dashboard level, is within the interface, you can copy and paste that and then just change your data source to a different data source. So for instance, if you have two websites that are both using GA4, you can just change the name of the report that it's pulling in, and all of these metrics will then pull in automatically. Now, keep in mind that a lot of those themes and stuff that are available in the dashboards that you previously used may be pulling data in from GA3. So that's just switching over is not going to work because a lot of these field names are actually different. So if you have reports already built and you want to change them, you're going to need to probably go in and identify each metric individually, which is a huge pain in the butt. And I'm not quite sure why Google chose to do that. So, but that is the situation. Not only with the naming you can do here, but you can actually then, like I said, share this with your team. And that's just like you would share other documents in Google. The Google universe is the share functionality up here. And you can choose who to send that to. And you can see if you go to the view that we have this dashboard now. And here are the pages that I added. And they can select a date range. And so you can say, hey, I want this to actually be this quarter. And it will fill in that information for you. So I hope that was helpful. If it was, please give us a like, and we would love for you to subscribe. We're going to be doing other dashboards in the near future. We'll show you how to do some SEO reporting in Looker Studio, some paid search reporting, and maybe some merchandising reporting. So we'll take a look at those. And if you have any suggestions, if there's something you want to see, go ahead and leave them in the comments and we'll add that to our list. Anyway, hope this was helpful, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.